If you're trying to decide whether a mini PC can actually replace your bulky tower, the question is, who will really benefit from a Ryzen 9 9955HX packed into a coffee-table-sized box? Who should walk away? And does the price make sense for everyday buyers? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks testing the MINISFORUM AMD Ryzen 9 9955HX MSA2 in a real home office, a small-scale editing suite, and even as a media hub for the living room. And I want to share the moments that made me pause and the ones that convinced me it actually works. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have with a mini PC like this is whether the tiny footprint can still handle the heat that a 16-core, 32-thread processor throws at it. In my setup, the unit sits on a desk that's also home to a 24-inch monitor, a few notebooks, and a couple of plants. The cooling system stays mostly quiet, only rising to a mild hum when I push a 4K video render in DaVinci Resolve. The heat stays under control because the chassis directs airflow through a large copper heat pipe that contacts the CPU directly. That means you can leave it on for hours without the fan screaming, something that scares a lot of people who've seen mini PCs turn into white noise generators in cramped spaces. When it comes to ports, the thing is a surprise party. You get two USB-C ports that support DisplayPort 2.0, two HDMI 2.1 sockets, and a full PCI X16 slot that lets you bolt a discrete external GPU if you ever need more graphics muscle. I hooked up two 4K monitors and a 144Hz gaming display without any hiccup, and the 8K at 60Hz claim held up when I streamed a 4K YouTube video to the TV while editing a timeline on the other screen. The two SFP plus 10 GBE ports and two 2.5 gigabits Ethernet ports make this a solid choice for a home office network that needs fast file transfers. Copying a 200 gigabytes project folder from a NAS to the internal 1 terabyte SSD took under a minute. If you're someone who lives on a gigabit connection and needs that extra bandwidth for large media files, those ports are a genuine time saver. Storage is another area where the device feels future-proof. It ships with a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, but the board offers three M.2 slots, two for the typical 2280 size and one that can take a larger 22110 or even a U.2 drive. I started with the stock SSD for OS and apps, then added a second 2 terabytes drive for video footage, and the system recognized both instantly. The DDR5 SODIMM slots support up to 5,600 metric tons per second, so upgrading RAM is straightforward. You just pop in a new module, and the BIOS picks it up without a fuss. This makes the box viable for a creator who expects to need more memory in a couple of years, without having to replace the whole machine. Now for the practical side, who should actually buy this? If you run a small design studio, do light to moderate video editing, or need a powerful workstation that won't dominate the floor, this mini PC hits the sweet spot. I used it to compile code for a small development team, and the 16 cores shaved compilation time by roughly 40% compared to my old i7 laptop. It also doubles as a reliable media server. I streamed 8K content to a TV and ran Plex in the background without stuttering. The network ports made it easy to attach a 10 GBE switch for a fast backed-up workflow, which is something a typical laptop can't match without an external adapter. On the flip side, there are clear scenarios where you should skip it. If your daily workload revolves around heavy 3D rendering, high-end gaming at ultra settings, or you need a massive amount of GPU horsepower on the go, a desktop tower with a dedicated GPU will still be more cost-effective. The internal GPU on the Ryzen 9 9955HX is respectable for everyday tasks and even modest gaming, but it won't replace a RTX 4080 for demanding titles. Also, if you're looking for a device you can toss in a backpack and run off battery for a day, this isn't it. The power brick is sizable, and the unit needs constant AC power, something that a high-end laptop can handle with a single charge. A final practical note is the upgrade path versus a tower. Because the chassis is compact, you can't swap in a massive water cooling loop or a huge graphics card, but you can still add an external GPU via Thunderbolt-compatible enclosures if you ever outgrow the integrated graphics. For most creators who are comfortable staying within the limits of a single high-performance CPU and a couple of SSDs, that flexibility is enough. It also means lower power consumption. The whole system draws roughly 80 W at idle and tops out near 250 W under full load, which is far cheaper on your electricity bill than a